I stood there in our sleek, modern kitchen, staring at the charred mess that used to be my passport. The acrid smell of burnt plastic stung my nose as the last wisps of smoke curled up from the marble island. The blue cover was now a blackened, shriveled husk, its edges crumbling like ash. My wife, Belle, sat just a few feet away, casually sipping her green smoothie, her manicured fingers scrolling through her phone, as if she hadn't just set fire to my identity. She didn't even look up when she spoke, her voice dripping with that smug tone I'd grown to hate. "You don't need it," she said, smirking like it was some clever joke. "Stay home and take care of the kids. That's what poor husbands do. I'm going to relax." Relax, that's what she called it. She was jetting off to Santorini tomorrow with Noah, her lover. She thought I didn't know. She thought I was too dumb, too buried in my work to notice the late-night texts, the girls' trips, the way she'd started dressing up for errands. But I knew I'd known for months. What she didn't know, what I hadn't told a soul yet, was that I'd just signed the deal of my life. My startup, the little project I'd poured 15 years into, had sold to an international conglomerate for $2 billion. Billion with a capital B. Cash in my pocket, freedom in my hands, and she had no clue. I'd kept it quiet, even from her, because I wanted to surprise her with a new life. Maybe that villa in Italy we talked about years ago, back when she still looked at me like I mattered. But now I saw the truth. She didn't deserve the surprise. She didn't deserve me. I didn't say a word as she finished her smoothie and sauntered upstairs, humming like she'd won some grand victory. I waited until the house was still. The kids tucked into their beds, their soft breathing filling the silence. Then I moved. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet, stuffed it with clothes, my laptop, a few essentials. I opened the safe in my office, the one she didn't know the code to, and pulled out stacks of cash, some documents, a spare key fob for the car I bought last year and never told her about. I didn't need much. I wasn't running away in a panic. This was calculated. This was me taking back control. Before I left, I walked back to the kitchen. The passport's ashes were still there, a dark smear on the marble. I grabbed a pen and a notepad from the drawer, scribbled a quick message. "You're right. I'll stay home. Enjoy your trip." I left it next to the ashes, knowing she'd see it in the morning. She'd think it was surrender. She'd laugh, maybe text Noah about how pathetic I was. Let her. I locked the door behind me, got into my car, a black SUV she'd never cared to notice, and drove into the night. The city lights blurred past me as I headed downtown, my mind racing, but calm. I wasn't the broken man she thought she'd left behind. I was something else now, something she'd never see coming. The penthouse suite I checked into was a world away from our suburban mansion. Glass walls, a view of the skyline, silence that felt like power. I dropped my bag, poured a glass of whiskey from the minibar, and sat on the leather couch staring out at the city. My phone buzzed. Bell probably, but I didn't check. Not yet. I needed this moment to breathe, to feel the weight of what I'd done. $2 billion, a burned passport, a wife who thought she'd outsmarted me. The kids were safe with a nanny for now. I'd figure that out tomorrow. Tonight was about me reclaiming my life. I leaned back, sipping the whiskey, letting the burn in my throat match the fire in my chest. She thought she'd trapped me, grounded me, turned me into her little stay-at-home puppet while she danced off with her lover. But she'd misjudged me badly. I wasn't staying home, I wasn't poor, and I sure as hell wasn't done. Tomorrow, she'd wake up to an empty house and a rude awakening. I'd left her something she couldn't ignore. Not just the note, but the first hint of the storm I was about to unleash. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. I woke up to sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new penthouse suite. The city sprawling out below me like a map of possibilities. The leather couch creaked as I sat up, my neck stiff from sleeping in an awkward position, but my mind was sharp. I'd left the house last night, walked away from Belle and her smug little game, and now I was free. The duffel bag sat in the corner, a reminder of how little I'd needed to take with me. My phone buzzed on the glass coffee table. 10 missed calls, a dozen texts, all from her. I didn't read them yet. I knew what they'd say. Confusion at first, then anger, then some half-baked excuse. She'd woken up to an empty bed, a missing husband, and that note next to the ashes of my passport. Good, let her stew. I showered, letting the hot water wash away the last traces of our old life. Then, dressed in a crisp shirt and jeans, clothes she'd never picked out for me. My first call was to Juno, my lawyer. She answered on the second ring, her voice calm and professional like always. "You're up early," she said. "Everything okay?" I told her everything. Belle burning my passport, her trip to Santorini with Noah, the way she'd mocked me like I was some broke loser. Then I dropped the bombshell. I sold the startup. $2 billion. Signed yesterday. There was a pause, then a low whistle. "Well, damn," Juno said. "Congratulations. And what do you want to do about her?" I smiled, staring out at the skyline. Lock her out. Everything joint, accounts, cards, access. I want it frozen by noon. Next, I called Theo, my business partner and the only guy who'd stuck with me through the lean years. He'd been in the room when I signed the deal, grinning like a kid on Christmas. "You're a genius," he'd said then. And now, when I told him I'd left Belle, he laughed. About time. "What's the plan?" I told him I needed to meet some people, start putting pieces in place. He offered to handle the press if it leaked about the sale. "Keep my name quiet for now." I agreed. Discretion was my weapon. By midday, Juno texted, "Done. Accounts frozen. She's got nothing but what's in her purse." I pictured Belle in Santorini swiping her card for a cocktail and getting that polite decline from the waiter. She'd call me then, furious, demanding answers. I wouldn't pick up. I poured myself a coffee from the sweets machine, strong and black, and sat at the desk, pulling laptop open, planning my next move. The penthouse was paid for in cash. $2 million up front, no mortgage, no trail back to me yet. I'd used a shell company, something Theo had set up years ago for tax purposes. Belle wouldn't find me here. She didn't even know I had the money to afford a place like this. To her, I was still the guy scraping by, the poor husband she'd sneered at. I needed allies now, people who could help me turn this mess into something I controlled. My first stop was Isla, Noah's fiancée. She didn't know her man was halfway to Greece with my wife, probably sipping wine and laughing about how they'd pulled one over on us. I found her number through a mutual friend, called and asked to meet. "It's urgent," I said. She sounded wary, but agreed. Coffee shop downtown, 1 hour. I grabbed my keys and headed out. Isla was waiting at a corner table, her blonde hair pulled back, her face tight with stress. She didn't know me well, just as Belle's husband, the quiet guy who didn't say much at parties. I sat down, ordered a coffee, and got straight to it. "Noah's cheating on you with Belle. They're in Santorini right now." Her eyes went wide, then hard. "You're lying," she said, but her voice shook. I pulled out my phone, showed her the photos I'd had a pie snap. Belle and Noah boarding the plane, his hand on her leg, her laughing like she didn't have a care in the world. Isla's face crumpled, but she didn't cry. She just stared. then whispered, "That bastard." I leaned forward, keeping my voice low. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because we can help each other. She burned my passport to keep me stuck while they ran off. But I'm not stuck. I've got resources now, more than they know, and I'm going to use them." Isla looked up, her jaw tight. "What do you mean?" I told her about the sale, the money, the power I had now. "They think they've won. They have it. I just need proof, something to bury them." She nodded slowly, then pulled out her own phone. "I've got his cloud password. Let me check something." We sat there sipping coffee as she scrolled through Noah's backup folder. Her fingers froze. "Oh my God," she muttered, turning the screen to me. Texts, dozens of them. Noah and Belle plotting how they'd drain our accounts, how they'd frame me as the bad guy, how they'd live big while I took the fall. "He said you were broke." Isla read aloud, "Said you'd never recover." I laughed, a bitter sound. He's about to find out how wrong he is. Isla handed me the phone. "Take it. Use it. I want him to pay." I copied the texts, sent them to Juno with a note. "Start building the case." This wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice. Belle thought she'd torched my life when she burned that passport. But all she'd done was light the fuse. I thanked Isla, promised to keep her in the loop, and left the coffee shop with a fire in my gut. The Pinhouse waited, my new command center. I wasn't hiding anymore. I was hunting. I sat in the Pinhouse that night, the city lights twinkling outside like a million little eyes watching me piece my life back together. Isla's texts from Noah's phone were open on my laptop. Each message a dagger Belle and her lover had aimed at my back. I couldn't stop reading them, even though every word burnt. "He's clueless." Noah had written. "Thinks he's still got a shot at something big." "Wait till we cash out." Belle's reply. "He's too busy playing dad. Won't even notice till it's gone." They've been planning this for months, siphoning money, setting me up to look like a failure while they ran off to live their fantasy. The joke was on them. I wasn't broke. I wasn't clueless, and I sure as hell wasn't done. I called Juno again, pacing the hardwood floor. The phone pressed tight to my ear. "You got the texts?" I asked when she picked up. "Yeah," she said, her voice steady but sharp. "This analytics, these are gold. I'm pulling footage from the house cams too. Got them from the cloud backup. Sending it now." She paused, then added, "You're calm for a guy whose wife just torched his passport." I laughed. A rough sound. "Calm's all I've got left. Send it fast. I want this airtight." Juno promised to have a draft of the legal filings by morning. Restraining orders, asset freezes, the works. I hung up and sank into the couch, rubbing my temples. The penthouse was quiet. Too quiet, but it gave me space to think. I wasn't just fighting for money or pride. This was about the kids, about the life I'd built. Belle could burn my passport, but she wasn't burning that. The footage came through 10 minutes later. Grainy clips from the security cams I'd installed after Belle staged that fake break-in last year. She claimed someone tried to jimmy the back door, but I'd never bought it. Now, watching the clips, I saw why. There she was late at night, sneaking Noah into the garage, laughing as they stumbled inside. Another clip showed her rifling through my desk, probably looking for cash or bank statements. She'd even waved at the camera once, mocking me, thinking I'd never check. Dumb move. I saved every second of it. Tagged it for Juno. This wasn't just evidence, it was ammunition. My phone buzzed again. "Belle, where are you?" "Card's not working. Call me." I smirked, imagining her stranded in Santorini, tapping her foot in those ridiculous heels, yelling at some poor hotel clerk. Noah was probably sweating too now that Isla had tipped off his firm about his extended leave. I didn't reply. Let them squirm. I had bigger fish to fry. I called Isla back, catching her just as she was leaving Noah's apartment. Found more, she said, her voice tight. Receipts, plane tickets, hotel bookings, all in his name, but paid with your card. My card, the joint one she linked to her phone for emergencies. I gritted my teeth. Send it over. You okay? She sighed. No, but I will be. He's not getting away with this. I liked her grit. She was collateral damage like me, but she wasn't curling up to cry about it. She was fighting. The receipts hit my inbox. Thousands spent on first-class tickets, a suite at some fancy Greek resort, dinners I'd never eaten. Every charge was a slap in the face, but it was also a gift. Proof. I forwarded it to Juno with a note. A theft to the list. My startup sale wasn't public yet. Foe was keeping it under wraps, but the money was already in my new accounts, offshore and untouchable. Belle thought she drained me dry. She hadn't even scratched the surface. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. The penthouse smelled like new paint and leather, a clean slate. I thought about the kids, 6 and 8. Probably confused this morning when I wasn't there to make pancakes. The nanny had them covered, but I'd need to see them soon. Explain things without poisoning them against their mom. That'd be tough. I didn't want them hating her, even if I did. They deserved better than our mess. My mind drifted to Noah. Smug bastard. I pulled up his firm's website, some mid-tier investment group. His bio bragged about integrity and client trust. Hypocrite. Hila said she'd emailed his boss screenshots of the texts, plus a heads up about his little vacation. By now, he was probably getting calls, scrambling to explain. I hoped he choked on it. The footage kept playing on my laptop. Loop after loop of Belle and Noah in my house, my space, acting like they owned it. One clip showed her burning my passport, holding it over the stove with tongs, giggling as the flames caught. Bon voyage, loser, she'd said, dropping it on the counter. I froze the frame, saved it. That was Exhibit A, malicious intent, clear as day. Juno would eat it up. I stood stretching and walked to the window. The city hummed below, oblivious to my war. I wasn't just gathering evidence to protect myself. I was building a case to bury them. Theft, fraud, maybe even destruction of property. I didn't care about jail time for her. I just wanted her stripped bare financially and socially. Noah, too. Let them see what it's like to lose everything. Isla texted again. He's calling me. Not answering you. I typed back radio silence. Stay strong. She sent a thumbs up. I liked her more every minute. She wasn't just a victim. She was a partner in this now, whether she knew it or not. I sat back down, pulling up a blank document. The real plan was taking shape, not just defense, but offense. I'd expose them, not with loud accusations, but with quiet, undeniable facts. A journalist friend owed me a favor from way back when I helped her source a tech story. She'd love this. Suburban betrayal, money, sex, the whole soap opera. I shot her an email. Got a scoop. Off record for now. Coffee tomorrow. She'd bite. I could already see the headline. The clock ticked past midnight, but I wasn't tired. Adrenaline kept me sharp. Every text, every clip, every receipt was a brick in the wall. I was building, one they'd never climb over. Belle thought she'd burn me out of her life. She didn't know she'd just handed me the match. I sat at the desk in my penthouse, the laptop screen glowing with those damning texts and videos. But my mind wasn't on them anymore. It drifted back, way back to the beginning, 12 years ago when Belle and I first met. I was just a scrappy coder then, hunched over a beat-up laptop in a garage that smelled like motor oil and stale coffee. She'd walked in with a friend, all bright eyes and easy smiles, wearing a sundress that caught the light. I'd been debugging code for 16 hours straight. My hair a mess, my shirt wrinkled, but she didn't care. "You look like you're building the future," she'd said, leaning against the workbench. I laughed, shy and awkward, and told her it was just a dumb app idea. She stayed anyway, asking questions, listening like she actually cared. That was the Belle I fell for, the one who saw something in me when I was nothing. Now, staring out at the city lights, I wondered where that girl went. Back then, I was all ambition, working late nights, scraping by on ramen and hope. She liked it at first, called me her dreamer, said she'd be there when I made it big. We got married 2 years later, a small ceremony in her parents' backyard, me in a borrowed suit, her glowing in white. I promised her the world, and I meant it. But as my startup grew, so did her expectations. The app turned into a platform, the platform into a company. And suddenly, I wasn't just a dreamer. I was a machine she wanted to tune. She started picking my clothes, telling me my old jeans were embarrassing now that I had investors to impress. My buddies from college too scruffy, she'd say, steering me toward her polished friends instead. Even my family got the cold shoulder. She'd make excuses to skip dinners with my mom, my brother Kai, saying they didn't fit her vibe. I let it happen. That's the part that stings now. I was so focused on building something real, something that had last, that I didn't see her reshaping me into her accessory. The late nights at the office weren't just about work. They were my escape from her constant nudges, her little digs about how I wasn't fun anymore. She wanted luxury, status, the Instagram life. While I was still the guy who'd rather fix a bug than sip champagne at some gala, over time, I became this curated version of myself. Clean-shaven, buttoned up, quiet at her parties because she'd trained me to be. I thought it was compromise. It wasn't. It was control. The passport burning. That was her final move. Her way of saying I didn't matter anymore. Stay home. She'd smirked like I was some lapdog she could chain up while she ran off with Noah. She didn't just want me out of the picture. She wanted me small, powerless, a footnote in her shiny new story. I poured a glass of water from the penthouse sink, gulping it down as the memory hit me harder. 12 years, 2 kids, a life I'd built brick by brick, and she'd lit a match to it like it was trash. But she didn't know the half of it. She didn't know I'd sold the company, that I'd turned that garage dream into $2 billion. To her, I was still the broke coder, the poor husband she could mock. She'd married a lie, but not the one she thought. I walked to the window, pressing my hand against the cool glass. The city buzzed below, alive and indifferent. I thought about the early days, how we'd stay up late dreaming about trips we couldn't afford. Like that villa in Florence I'd sketched out on a napkin once. She laughed, said we go someday when I made it. I made it all right. And now I was here alone in a penthouse while she was sipping wine and Santorini with a guy who thought he'd won her. The irony twisted in my gut. I'd spent years building something for us, for the kids, and she traded it for a fling and a tan. My phone buzz. Another text from her. "This isn't funny. Where's the money?" I didn't answer. She'd figure it out soon enough when the cards kept declining. When Noah's promises fell flat, I wasn't the guy she'd married anymore. Not the naive dreamer she could mold. I was something else now. Something she'd underestimated. The footage from the house cams, the text from Isla, the receipts. They were all pieces of the puzzle. But this wasn't just about evidence. It was about me remembering who I was before her. I thought about the kids again. How she'd dress them up like little dolls for her social media. How she'd roll her eyes when I took them to the park instead of some cute brunch spot. She'd turned our family into her backdrop, and I'd let her. No more. I'd get them back. Give them a life that wasn't about likes or filters. I'd show them the world. Florence, maybe. Like I'd promised myself years ago. Belle could keep her Santorini. I'd take the real stuff. I sat back down, running a hand through my hair. The penthouse felt too big, too empty. But it was mine. No trace of her here. No perfume, no demands, no smirks. Just me and the truth. She'd burn my passport to keep me grounded, to clip my wings while she flew off. But I wasn't the backup plan she thought I was. I was the main event, the guy who'd built an empire while she was busy posing. She'd mocked my work, my friends, my roots, thinking she'd outgrown me. Now I'd remind her the man she burned wasn't her stepping stone. He was the whole damn mountain. I closed the laptop, the screen going dark. Tomorrow I'd meet a start laying the groundwork to expose this mess. But tonight, I just sat there letting the past settle around me like dust. 12 years with a woman who'd never really known me. 12 years of bending, shrinking, trying to fit her frame. That was over. The lie she married was dead. The real me. He was just getting started. I woke up to the soft hum of the penthouse air conditioning, the city still asleep outside my windows. My phone was silent. No buzzing, no texts from Belle, just a quiet that felt like victory. I'd gone dark last night, turned off notifications, let her stew in the mess she'd made. She was in Santorini by now, probably waking up to decline cards and a boyfriend who couldn't cover the tab. I pictured her tapping her foot, flipping her hair, demanding answers from a hotel clerk who didn't care. Good. Let her feel it. I rolled out of bed, my bare feet hitting the cool hardwood, and made coffee. Strong, black, no fuss. The penthouse smelled like freedom, and I was ready to use it. First thing, I called Juno. "Status?" I asked, sipping from my mug. She didn't waste words. Join accounts are locked, cards canceled. She's got whatever cash she took with her, and that's it. Offshore trusts are set. You're $2 billion safe. She can't touch a dime. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. The house. Juno's voice sharpened. Deeds off your name. Transferred to the LLC. She's got no claim unless she fights it in court. And with what money? I smirked. The mansion. Our big, shiny suburban cage was mine in every way that mattered. Belle could bang on the door all she wanted. She wasn't getting in. I'd gone ghost, and it felt good. No calls, no explanations, just me pulling levers she didn't even know existed. I checked my new bank app. Clean, separate accounts, fat with the sale money. Theo had wired his cut too. But mine was the lion's share. $2 billion sitting there like a loaded gun. Belle thought she'd left me broke, scrambling. She didn't know I'd been planning for years. Quiet moves, shell companies. Trust she'd never sniffed out. I wasn't the fool she'd painted me as. Next, I texted Isla. "How's it going?" She replied fast. "Noah's freaking out. Firm's on his ass. I'm good, thanks." I liked her more every day. She'd taken her own hit but wasn't crumbling. She'd sent his boss the texts, the receipts, everything. And now Noah was feeling the heat. His cushy job was probably toast by now. Cheating on your fiancé with a married woman doesn't look great on a resume. I typed back, "Stay sharp." She'll be home soon. Isla sent a fist bump emoji. We were a team now, whether she realized it or not. I paced the penthouse, coffee in hand, thinking about my next move. The kids were with the nanny, safe, fed, probably asking where I was. I'd call later, keep it light. But I needed to focus today. Rialel's world was collapsing, and I was the architect. I pulled up the house cam footage again, watching her burn my passport on loop. That smirk, that laugh, it fueled me. She thought she'd grounded me, but I was already flying. My phone pinged. An email from Juno. House codes changed. She's locked out when she lands. Perfect. I imagined her rolling up in a cab, designer bags in tow, punching the old code into the keypad. Nothing. She'd scream, "Call me." Maybe even the cops. Let her try. The LLC owned it now. And I had every right to secure my property. She'd be stuck outside in those stupid heels looking like the fool she was. I needed to hit harder, though. Not just money, not just the house. I wanted her exposed. Her perfect little life peeled back for everyone to see. That's when I thought of she was a journalist I'd met years ago, back when my startup was just a blip. I tipped her off to a tech story once, saved her deadline. She owed me. I grabbed my laptop, shot her a message. "Hey, got something big? Suburban influencer, double life, money, betrayal, the works. Coffee today? Off record for now?" She replied in minutes. "Hell yes, 2 p.m. usual spot." I grinned. Allah loved a juicy scoop, and this was a banquet. I spent the morning digging deeper, cross-checking the receipts sent, matching them to the cam footage. Every move Belle and Noah made was sloppy, traceable. They'd use my card for everything. Flights, hotels, even a damn couple's massage. I saved it all, built the file thicker. Juno would use it for the legal side, but she'd turn it into a story that had torched Belle's precious image. All those followers, those brand deals, she'd lose them overnight. By noon, I was restless. I grabbed my keys, headed to the coffee shop early. The place was quiet, just a few people tapping away on laptops. I took a corner table, ordered a black coffee, and waited. Showed up right on time, her dark hair pulled back, her notebook already out. "You look different," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. "Good. Different." I shrugged. "New chapter. You ready for this?" She leaned in, eyes bright. "Spill." I kept it vague. No names yet, just the bones. A suburban wife, an affair, a husband she thought she'd ruined. She burned my passport to keep me home while she ran off with him. I said, "Thinks I'm broke?" I'm not. Pin flew across the page. In the twist, I leaned back, sipping my coffee. "I just sold my company, $2 billion. She doesn't know." Whistled low. That's a hell of a hook. "What's the play?" I told her I wanted a feature. Not about me, not yet, but about the quiet financial abuses, the fake lives people like Belle lived. She's the centerpiece. I said her and her lover. Let the world see. Nodded, scribbling. I can run it anonymous for now. Sources say that vibe. When you're ready, we names. I agreed. Timing was everything. Belle would be back soon, and I wanted this prime to drop when she least expected it. We hashed out details, how she'd frame it, what I'd send her next. By the time I left, the plan was solid. Back at the penthouse, I checked my phone. Belle again. This is insane. Answer me. I didn't. Ghost protocol was in full effect. She'd land tomorrow, find the house locked, the money gone, Noah's life imploding. I'd be here, silent, untouchable, pulling strings. She'd burn my passport to trap me. I'd burned her world to set myself free. I stood by the penthouse window, coffee in hand, watching the city wake up below me. It was 3 days since Belle had left for Santorini, and today she'd land back home, right into the trap I'd set. My phone had been quiet all morning. No texts, no calls, just the calm before the storm. Juno had confirmed everything. The house codes were changed, the accounts frozen, the LLC in place. Belle was walking into a brick wall, and I wasn't there to soften the blow. I didn't feel guilty. Not after the passport, not after the texts, not after seeing her laugh with Noah on those camps. She'd made her bed. Now she could sleep in it. I checked the flight tracker on my laptop. Her plane was due in at noon. I pictured her strutting through the airport, designer sunglasses on, expecting to come home to her perfect life. Instead, she'd find a locked door and a bank account that didn't answer her prayers. Noah was probably with her, sweating through his excuses, his own world crumbling after Islaw's moves. I smirked, sipping my coffee. They deserved each other. Two liars scrambling in the wreckage. I wasn't at the house, of course. I've been watching the cams remotely, the app open on my phone. The nanny had taken the kids to her place last night. My instructions, no questions asked. I'd call them later, tell them I was on a work trip. Keep it simple. They didn't need to see this part. The footage from this morning showed an empty driveway, the mansion sitting there like a ghost town. I waited, knowing she'd show up soon, knowing the cameras would catch it all. Around 10 p.m., my phone pinged. A motion alert from the front door cam. There she was. Belle rolling up in a cab, her hair a little messy, her face tight with irritation. She dragged her suitcase to the keypad, punched in the old code. Nothing. She tried again harder, then slammed her fist on the door. I turned up the volume, heard her yell, "What the hell?" She pulled out her phone, probably calling me, but I blocked her number last night. No point in listening to her scream. She paced the porch, her heels clicking, then tried the back door. Locked. She kicked it, swore loud enough for the mic to pick up, and sat on the steps, head in her hands. I leaned back on the couch, watching her unravel. She looked smaller out there, less like the queen she played online, and more like a kid who'd lost her toy. Her suitcase sat beside her, a bright pink monstrosity stuffed with clothes she couldn't afford anymore. I didn't feel bad. She'd burned my passport, mocked me, run off with Noah, thinking she'd won. This was her wake-up call. Cold, hard, and overdue. My phone buzzed. "Juno, she's at the house," she said. "Cops might get called if she keeps banging around. You good with that?" I nodded to myself. "Yeah, let her try. It's my property now. She's got no leg to stand on." Juno chuckled. "She's going to hate you for this." I shrugged, even though she couldn't see. She hated me anyway. This just makes it official. While Belle stood outside. I had work to do. I've been thinking about my mom lately. How she'd raised me and Kai alone after Dad split. How she'd always said, "I'd do something big." She died 5 years ago, cancer, and I wanted to start a foundation in her name ever since. Rial El had shot it down every time. Said it wasn't glamorous enough that I should focus on real investments like her influencer friends did. Screw that. Now with the sale money, I could do it right. I called Theo. "Hey, you still got that non-profit guy's number?" He did. "Sending it now." "What's this about?" I told him. Mom's foundation, education grants, tech for kids like I'd been. He got quiet, then said, "She'd love that, man. I'm in, whatever you need." I spent the afternoon on the phone with a nonprofit guy, a sharp dude named Marcus. We hashed out a plan. $5 million to start, scholarships, coding camps, all in Mom's name. It felt good, like I was building something that mattered, not just for me, but for her. Belle never got that legacy over likes. By the time I hung up, the papers were in motion. I'd sign tomorrow. Back on the cams, Belle was gone. The cab must have come back. She'd probably checked into a hotel, burning through whatever cash she had left. I didn't care where she went as long as it wasn't my problem. I poured a whiskey, sat down, and wrote her a letter. Not an email, not a text. Old school pen on paper. I kept it short. You burned my passport to take a man on my dream trip. So I burned the illusion you called a marriage. I won't stop you from chasing fantasies. But you'll do it without me and without the empire I built. I sealed it, addressed it to the house. The mail god would drop it tomorrow. She'd find it eventually, whenever she figured out how to get back in. I leaned back, sipping the whiskey, letting the burns settle in my chest. The pin house was quiet, but it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like mine. The kids would be okay. I'd see them soon, take them somewhere fun away from this mess. Belle, she'd landed back in reality, and it wasn't the soft landing she'd expected. The cams had caught her meltdown, another piece for Juno's file, but I didn't need to watch it again. I'd seen enough. The clock hit 8 p.m. I stood, stretched, and walked to the window. The city glowed, alive and moving, while Belle's world shrank. She thought she could burn me out of her life, leave me stuck while she danced off with Noah. But I wasn't stuck. I was free. Freer than I'd been in years. The foundation was my start, a piece of something real. She'd get the letter, read the words, and no, this wasn't her game anymore. It was mine, and I was just warming up. I woke up to the sound of rain tapping against the pin house windows, a steady drum that matched the rhythm of my thoughts. It was day 4 since Belle's world started cracking, and I could feel the shift in the air, like the storm outside was washing away the last of her illusions. I made coffee, the machine hissing as I checked my phone. No calls from her, not since I blocked her, but the internet was buzzing. She'd posted late last night on her precious social media, some vague, dramatic caption. Going through something real, but coming back stronger. I snorted into my mock. Typical Belle, spinning her mess into a sob story, fishing for likes and sympathy. She didn't know the half of what was coming. I pulled up the house cams from yesterday's footage. Her pacing the porch, yelling into her phone, then slumping off with her suitcase. She probably crashed at a hotel. Maybe Noah's place if he'd made it back too. Didn't matter. She was scrambling, and I was steady. Juno had texted. She tried a lawyer, some cheap guy. He's got nothing prenups ironclad. I grinned. That prenup? She laughed when we signed it. Said it was pointless because I'd never amount to much. Now it was her cage locking her out of my billions. The rain picked up, streaking the glass as I sat at the desk, laptop open. Ara's article had gone live an hour ago behind the facade. When influence becomes control, and it was already spreading, she'd kept it anonymous, like I'd asked. No names yet. Just a suburban influencer who'd manipulated her husband's finances while living a double life with a lover. The details were vague, but sharp enough to make people whisper, to make Belle's followers squint at her latest post and wonder. I scrolled 10 watching the chatter build. Sounds like someone I know. One user wrote, "These fake perfect wives are the worst," said another. I didn't reply, didn't need to. The seed was planted. My phone buzzed. It's hitting. Comments are wild. "You good?" I typed back. "Perfect. Let it cook." She sent a fire emoji. I leaned back, sipping my coffee, feeling the warmth spread. Belle's whole game was her image. Those curated photos, They blessed captions, the brand deals that paid for her highlights and handbags. Now it was crumbling, and she didn't even know why yet. Her followers weren't buying the pity play. Too many had seen the article. Too many were connecting dots. I thought about her out there, probably refreshing her phone, watching the likes slow down. She'd call it a glitch. Blame the algorithm. But the truth was colder. People smelled the lie. Her friends, those shallow influencer types she'd collected, were already pulling back. I'd seen it on her account. Fewer comments from the usual crew, no hard eyes from the Yoga Mom squad. Brands would be next. They'd drop her quietly. No emails, just a slow fade. She'd built her castle on sand, and the tide was coming in. An email popped up, anonymous. No name, just a throwaway address. She used to mock you. It read, called you her little money tree, said you'd never leave because you had no spine. Glad you proved her wrong. I stared at it, my jaw tight. One of her cronies, maybe, or someone she'd vented to at a wine night. Didn't matter who. It confirmed what I'd suspected. She'd never respected me, just used me as her prop. I saved it, forwarded it to Juno. Another brick in the wall. The rain kept falling, a gray curtain over the city. I stood stretching and walked to the window. Belle was in damage control mode, but she had no tools left. No money, no house, no husband to lean on. Noah was useless too. Isla had gutted his career, and he'd be lucky to keep a job flipping burgers. I pictured them holed up somewhere, arguing over whose fault it was, their grand plan in ashes. She'd burned my passport to keep me down, but all she'd done was light her own fuse. I checked the cams again. Nothing new, just the empty house. Rain pooling in the driveway. She hadn't come back yet, probably licking her wounds somewhere. I didn't care. My focus was shifting. Less on her, more on me. The foundation papers were ready. I'd sign them tomorrow with Marcus. $5 million to start. A real legacy, not some filtered photo op. Mom would have loved it. Belle never did. She'd called it a waste, said I should buy a yacht instead. Funny how she'd chased flash while I built substance. My phone pinged again. A text from Theo. Article's a hit. You sure you don't want your name out there? Hero vibes. I laughed, typed back, not yet. Let her burn first. He sent a thumbs up. Theo got it. He'd seen Belle's snide comments over the years, watched her try to shrink me. Now he was cheering me on, and it felt good to have him in my corner. I sat back down, pulling up her social media again. The post was still up, but the comments were turning. What's real, huh? Spill the tea. One said this. Why your grid's been quiet? Another jabbed. I didn't smile. Too much anger for that. But I felt the shift. She'd thrived on control, on everyone buying her act. Now the mask was slipping, and she couldn't glue it back on. The anonymous email stuck with me. Little money tree. That's what she'd seen me as, something to shake for cash. Then toss when the leaves dried up. She didn't know I'd grown roots deeper than she could reach, that I'd turned that tree into a forest. $2 billion, a new life, a chance to be me again. She'd mocked my work ethic, my quiet nights coding while she partied. Now that work had uprooted her whole game. I poured a whiskey, the rain a steady beat outside. The article was just the start. Ara had more coming when I gave the word. Belle's burn notice was live, and the fire was spreading. She'd wake up tomorrow to fewer followers, colder friends, a life she couldn't fake her way out of. I wasn't gloating, not yet. This wasn't about joy. It was about justice. She tried to burn me out of her story. Now I was writing the ending, and it wasn't hers to control. I stood in the penthouse kitchen, the morning light cutting through the rain clouds that had finally cleared. The coffee machine gurgled as I waited, my mind on the meeting ahead. Belle had texted last night. Not from her number, probably a friend's phone since I blocked her. We need to talk. Public place, please. I'd stared at it for 10 minutes before replying. Fine. Noon. The diner on 5th. I didn't want to see her, didn't want to hear her voice. But I needed to look her in the eye one last time. See if she'd squirm, lie, or finally break. The diner was neutral ground, busy enough that she couldn't make a scene. I'd hear her out, then walk away for good. The clock hit 11:30, and I grabbed my jacket, plain black, nothing she'd picked. The drive was short, the city humming around me as I pulled into the diner's lot. She was already there. Sitting in a booth by the window, her hair pulled back, her face bare of the usual makeup. She looked tired, smaller somehow, like the fight had drained out of her. I slid into the seat across from her, keeping my expression blank. The waitress came by and I ordered coffee black, no sugar. Belle fidgeted with her water glass, her nails chipped, no polish. That was new. "You're being cruel," she started, her voice slow but sharp, locking me out, freezing everything. "It's too much. You've made your point." I leaned back, sipping my coffee, letting her words hang there. She expected me to jump in, apologize, fix it. I didn't. "No," I said finally, setting the mug down. "This isn't revenge. This is release. I'm not punishing you, Belle. I'm removing you from the center of my story." Her eyes narrowed, then widened like she couldn't decide if I was serious. "Your story?" she snapped. "What about ours? The kids, the house? You burned that." I cut in, my voice steady. "The second you torched my passport and ran off with Noah. You don't get to play wife now." She flinched, her hands tightening on the glass. "It wasn't like that," she said. But her tone was weak, rehearsed. I just needed a break. "You were always working, always gone." I laughed, a short, bitter sound that stopped her cold. "A break? You planned it for months. Stole from me, mocked me. Don't lie to my face." She shifted, her eyes darting to the table, then back up. "Okay, fine, I messed up. But you can't just erase me. We've got history." History. 12 years of me bending, building while she posed and prayed. I leaned forward, keeping my voice low. "History is why I'm here. I gave you everything. Time, money, alive. You threw it back at me. Now you're out of moves." Her lips parted, then closed. She tried a new tag, softening her voice, tilting her head like she used to when she wanted something. "We can fix this for the kids. I'll come home. We'll work it out." "Allie, no," I said sharper this time. "You don't get it. There's no home for you to come back to. It's mine. The house, the money, the life I built. You're not part of it anymore." Her face hardened, the mask slipping. "You think you're some big shot now? You'll crash without me. You always needed me to." I held up a hand, stopping her. "I needed you to what? Dress me up. Tell me who to be. I'm done with that. And you're done with me." She tried threats next, her voice rising. "I'll fight this. Lawyers, courts, I'll take half." I pulled the pre-note from my jacket, slid it across the table. She'd signed it years ago, laughing, thinking it was a joke. "Read it," I said. "You get nothing. Not a dime." Her eyes scanned the page, her breath hitching. "This can't. There's no way." I stood, tossing a few bills for the coffee. Turns out poor husbands do pretty well when they play the long game. Goodbye, Belle. I walked out, her stare burning into my back. But I didn't turn. The air outside was crisp, the city alive around me. She tried everything. Guilt, charm, threats, and none of it stuck. I got in my car, let out a long breath. That was it. The last thread cut. She wasn't my wife anymore. Not in any way that mattered. The diner faded in my rear view as I drove back to the penthouse, the weight lifting off my chest. Back home, I poured a whiskey, the afternoon sun slanting through the windows. The prenup was my shield, but the real wind was walking away. She thought she could manipulate me one last time, pull me back into her orbit. She didn't know I'd outgrown it, outgrown her. My phone buzzed, articles still trending. Push the names. I typed back soon. Let it simmer. Belle's meltdown at the diner would have been gold for the story, but I didn't need it. The anonymous version was enough for now. I thought about her sitting there grasping at straws. She'd called me cruel, but cruelty would have been dragging this out, playing her game. I'd ended it clean. The kids were next. I'd see them tomorrow. Take them for ice cream. Start rebuilding what she'd cracked. They didn't need her drama. Just me being there. I'd figure out custody with Juno. Keep it smooth. The whiskey burned going down. A good burn. I wasn't the man she'd married. The quiet coder she could shape. I was me again. Raw and real with $2 billion and a life she couldn't touch. She'd unmasked herself today. Shown the desperation behind the polish. I'd unmasked her too. Stripped her of the power she'd held over me. The match was over. I'd won, and I wasn't looking back. I woke up to sunlight spilling across the penthouse floor, the city stretching out beyond the glass like a promise I could finally keep. Belle was gone, not just from the house, but from my head, her voice fading after yesterday's diner showdown. I cut the last tie, left her grasping at air, and now the day was mine. Coffee brewed in the kitchen, the rich smell filling the space as I pulled on a plain t-shirt and jeans clothes I liked. Not one she'd approved. My phone buzzed. Marcus, the non-profit guy. Papers ready. Meet at 10, I typed back. See you there. Today was about building, not breaking. I drove to his office downtown. The streets busy with morning traffic. The foundation was real now. Mom's name on it. $5 million to start. A chance to give kids like I'd been a shot at something big. Marcus greeted me with a handshake. His desk piled with forms. This is solid, he said, sliding the papers over. Scholarships, coding camps, mentorships. Starts next quarter. I signed, my pen scratching across the page, feeling her with me. Mom, who'd worked double shifts to buy me that first clunky computer. Belle had called this a waste. She was wrong. This was legacy. Back in the car, I called the nanny. Bring the kids to the park at noon. I said, I'll meet you there. She agreed. No questions. I hadn't seen them since I'd left. In the 8 hard, my son's goofy grin, my daughter's quiet questions. I'd kept it light on the phone. Said I was working, but they deserved more. The park was neutral, open, a place to start fresh. I stopped for ice cream on the way. Chocolate for him, strawberry for her, guessing their favorites like I hadn't been gone. They ran to me when I got there, small arms wrapping around my legs. Daddy, my son yelled, his face smeared with dirt already. My daughter hugged quieter, her eyes searching mine. Where were you? She asked. I crouched down, handed them the cones. Work stuff, kiddo. But I'm here now. How's it been? They chattered. School, the nanny's pancakes, a lizard they'd seen. I listened, really listened. No phone in my hand, no bell nagging in the background. We sat on a bench, the sun warm, and I told them we'd take a trip soon. Where? My son asked, ice cream dripping. Florence, I said. Italy. Cool buildings, good food. They grinned. No clue. It was my dream too. One bell had mocked. The nanny watched from a distance, giving us space. I'd sort custody later. Juno was on it. But for now, this was enough. They didn't ask about their mom, and I didn't bring her up. She'd call them eventually, spin her story. But I wouldn't poison them against her. They'd see the truth someday. We played tag, me chasing them through the grass, laughing like I hadn't in years. My lungs burned, but it felt good. Alive, free. Later, I dropped them back with the nanny and drove to the university. I'd guest lectured there before, back when the startup was small. The dean had emailed last week asking me to come again. I walked into the lecture hall, kids in hoodies staring up, some half asleep. I'm not here to bore you, I started, leaning on the podium. I'm here to tell you what I wish I'd known. I talked code grit, how I built something from a garage. They perked up when I mentioned the sale. $2 billion, a number that made their eyes widen. Money's nice, I said, but it's what you do with it that counts. I told them about the foundation, saw a few nod. One could ask, what's the catch? I grinned. No catch. Just work hard and don't let anyone tell you you're small. Driving back, I called Kai, my brother. We drifted. Belle's doing mostly saying he was too rough for her crowd. Hey man, I said when he picked up Ben too long. He laughed deep and warm. No kidding. You okay? Heard some crap about Belle. I told him short version. No drama. Damn. He said you're a badass now. Trip soon. Me, you, the kids. I smiled. Florence, you're in. He hooped. Hell yeah. Next was Silas, my best friend from college. Rial had hated him, called him a slacker because he didn't dress the part. Yo, he answered, voice sleepy. You alive? I laughed more than ever. Florence, me and Kai. You, he groaned, then chuckled. Twist my arm, I'm there. We rebuild. Me, Kai, Silas, the kids. No filters, no fakes. Back at the penthouse, I sat at the desk, laptop open. The platform I'd been coding secret, personal needed finishing. I called it Vero, truth, authenticity, a space for real voices, not pose perfection. Belle's world was likes and lies. This was the opposite. I typed, lines flowing, the old coder in me waking up. Hours passed, the sun dipping low, and I leaned back, satisfied. It wasn't done, but it was alive. I poured a whiskey, stepped onto the balcony. Florence waited. My trip my way. No approval needed. The kids' laughter echoed in my head. Kai's voice, Silas's grin. The foundation was rolling. The lecture had landed. Vera was breathing. Belle was out there somewhere scrambling, but she didn't own me anymore. I'd shifted. Money, sure, but more than that. Freedom, purpose. Me again, not her version. The city glowed below, a canvas I could paint on now. 2 billion open doors. But this family work truth was the key. I sipped the whiskey, the breeze cool on my face. Legacy mode wasn't about winning against her. It was about building beyond her. And I was just getting started. I stood on the stage in Lisbon, the tech conference buzzing around me, a sea of faces staring up from the crowd. The lights were hot, the mic heavy in my hand. But I felt steady, steadier than I'd been in years. It was a year since Belle burned my passport. A year since I'd walked out and turned her world upside down. Now I was here unveiling Vero, my platform, my truth to a room full of coders, investors, and dreamers. The screen behind me glowed with a logo. Simple, bold, real authenticity, I said, my voice carrying over the hum. Accountability, truth. That's what this is about. The crowd leaned in, phones up, recording. I wasn't nervous. This was me, raw and ready. I'd spent months coding Vero, nights on the Pinhouse balcony with my laptop, the city lights, my only company. It wasn't just an app. It was a middle finger to the fake lies Bell thrived on, a space where people could build without posing. I walked them through it. Open source roots, encrypted chats, no algorithms pushing lies. We've got enough filters, I said. This strips them away. They clapped. A ripple at first, then a wave. I saw Kai in the front row grinning, Silas beside him giving a thumbs up. The kids were with the nanny back home, but I'd bring them here someday. Show them what their dad could do. After the demo, I stepped off stage, the Q&A looming. Reporters swarmed, mics in my face, $2 billion from your startup. True, one asked. I nodded. Yeah, sold it last year. Another jumped in. Rumors say your wife betrayed you. That why you built this? I paused, the question hanging there. Belle's shadow still followed me, even here. I smiled, kept it light. She gave me clarity. That's worth more than anything she took. They scribbled, nodded, moved on. I didn't name her. Not yet. Article had done its job, and Belle's name was mud online. Anyway, I didn't need to twist the knife. The crowd thinned, and I grabbed a water, my throat dry from talking. Kai slapped my back. Killed it, man. Mom would be proud. I grinned. Yes, she would. Silas chimed in. Drinks later. You're buying Billionaire? I laughed. The sound easy. Florence had been a blast. Me, Kai, Silas, the kids, eating gelato by the Arno. No schedules, no filters. Now Lisbon was ours. A victory lap I'd earned. A woman approached. Dark hair, sharp eyes, not a reporter, something else. Great talk, she said, her voice warm but direct. I'm Noah, artist, entrepreneur. Vero's got legs, real ones. I liked her already. No fluff, no games. Thanks, I said. What's your angle? She smiled. A spark there. Building something too. Smaller scale, but same vibe. Truth over trash. We talked. Her project, mine, the mess of tech these days. She didn't ask about money. Didn't fish for status. Just ideas straight up. Rebuilding's hard, I said, testing her. She nodded. So am I. I grinned. Me too. We swapped numbers. Nothing forced, just a thread to pull. Later she walked off and I watched her go, feeling something shift. Not love, not yet, just possibility. Belle had been flash and control. Noah felt like fire and grit. I didn't need a partner, but I wasn't closed off either. The right side of history wasn't about being alone. It was about being real. Back at the hotel, I sat on the balcony, Lisbon's lights sprawling below. The conference buzzed online, Vero trending, my name tied to it. Visionary, they called me. Come back, King. I didn't care about the labels, the sale, the money. It was fuel, not the fire. The fire was this. The foundation thriving. Kids in coding camps because of Mom's name. My own kids laughing again, asking about Italy. Kai and Silas back in my life. Vero breathing, growing. Belle, she was a footnote now. Divorce final. Her accounts dry. Her followers gone. She tried to come back post months ago. Got ratioed to hell. I didn't check anymore. I thought about that night. The passport in ashes, her smirk, my quiet exit. She'd thought she'd won, thought I'd stay small. But I'd burned bigger. Burned the lie she'd built around me. The cage she'd locked me in. 2 billion open doors. But walking out saved me. I'd rebuilt, Not for revenge, but for me. The kids had a dad again, not a prop. I had brothers, Kai, Silas, not her fake friends. And now maybe Noah, a spark, not a script. My phone buzzed. Theo launch is a hit. Investors calling. You're back, man, I typed. Never left, just found the right side. He sent a fist bump. I leaned back. The night air cool. Lisbon glowed, a city I'd conquered. But the real wind was quieter. Me here whole. Belle's fire hadn't destroyed me. It had cleared the way, torched the junk I didn't need. I'd lost a wife, a house, a version of myself I'd hated. I'd gained everything else. I stood stretching, the conference noise fading below. Vera was out there now. My mark on the world. The foundation was growing. The kids were mine. And Noah's number sat in my phone. A maybe, a what if. I didn't need to prove anything to Belle anymore. She lost the game she'd started. I was on the right side, not of money or fame, but of me. The man I'd always been under her noise. The one she'd never seen coming. I walked in.